This vlog is being filmed on the same camera used in the record of Stanford. This is exhausting. How do people like cross promote? I'm taking a walk to grab dinner for me and my mom. I had something I really wanted to talk about for a bit because I went to see a movie I think about 2-3 weeks ago now. Real quick before I even continue on that though, the following people are not allowed to watch this video. If you watch further than this timestamp, I cannot be held responsible for how long the jail time will be. So 2 or 3 weeks ago, something like that, I saw the new Neil Breen film. Yeah, this isn't really going to be for anybody, is it? Cade the Tortured Crossing it's a Neil Breen film. If you've ever seen any other Neil Breen film, then you've seen this film. So I watched Cade the Tortured Crossing, and it was pretty terrible. You know, it's the whole movie is filmed on green screen, which is actually less than you can say about Breen's last film, Twisted Pair, which actually had some scenes that were filmed in real places. You can blame COVID for it, you can blame lots of stuff for it. And there's a lot about Breen that could probably frustrate you just off the bat, and it frustrates me as well. You know, the performances, and you know, what I'm about to say might even just be a testament to how bad the thing is even more, because these are supposed to be things you don't think of while you're watching the movie, and the movie was making me think about it. Okay, let me tell you guys a little bit about the Kulishov effect. Do not click off, do not stop, don't click off. The Kulishov effect is one of the oldest things surrounding film theory, like, ever. It's just basically about the idea of, like, two shots corresponding with one another, even if they have nothing to literally do with each other. It's all about image association. So you have one shot that's doing one thing in it, and then it cuts to a different shot, and your brain sort of immediately associates those images with them together. It creates continuity in your brain. That's what the image association is. Excuse me for 1 second. Food is here. What's going on, boss? Can I get a lamp? Euro. Do you want me to get you something else? They got lots of other stuff. I think after I saw Twisted Pair, one of the things that I got really hooked on while watching it was just talking about, you know, the fact that Breen is very much trying to emulate a lot of, like, just modern film adages and just, like, do a lot of the tropey stuff, and has no idea about what makes any of that stuff effective, but is super passionate about the surface level stuff, and it shows, at least in Twisted Pair. And I guess that, like, that observation is kind of carried over into the Tortured Crossing, because there's a whole lot in that film that's more or less like a misunderstanding of the Kulishov effect, which is, again, like, the bare bones basic editing thing. I think that inadvertently Neil Breen's work sort of, oh, there's people coming out with fishing rods, oh god. I think Breen inadvertently kind of, like, does some really interesting stuff surrounding the Kulishov effect, kind of showcasing the limits of the Kulishov effect. You know, like, there's still some kind of inherent continuity in the brain between shot-to-shot stuff, not scene-to-scene stuff. I think he doesn't know what's going on there. But it's interesting because some stuff will cut very poorly, but there's still that kind of contiguous thing in your brain where, like, your brain is doing its best to, like, hold on to the continuity of it. Now, it's straining to, and I think that that's kind of neat. Like, your brain is, like, working at full capacity to try and figure out the difference between certain images and whether a new scene has started at some points or not. But, like, it's doing the work. And so the most interesting thing to me about Breen is, despite the fact that he's made, I believe, some of the technically worst movies I or my friends have ever seen, there is still kind of a maintenance of filmmaking in there. No one's fucking playing chicken with cars in Staten Island because they don't know what a stop sign is. They do not know. So I think that for the first time in a bit, a movie has come around now that has made me think a little bit about the technical aspect of film that's actually interesting. You know, the technical aspect that's tied to film theory. Whereas a majority of the stuff that's talked about today regarding technical stuff is kind of lost in basic contemporary trappings. What do I mean by that? Just a lot of basics of cinematography, mainly. There's not much, like, editing talk that happens around movies too much, unless the edits are very obviously bad, or very obviously, lackluster. I'm gonna back up. We're shifting angles because the fork's going away. Enough stuff has been taken out of this that I actually feel confident in wrapping it. Let's go. This is the closest into my personal life y'all will ever get. So I'm pretty sure if you ask a lot of people about the Kulishov effect, what it's even meant to be, I think a lot of them wouldn't be able to tell you, even though it does basically, like, punctuate a majority of film language. It's not even that deep, so to speak, of a filmic concept, because it's the thing that establishes editing. I mean, even reaction shots come from the Kulishov effect. Cutting from a shot of a person to something else, and then cutting back to the person, gives us the mental association that these images are related. This person is looking at this, and this is their reaction to what they're looking at. I'm not trying to teach about the Kulishov effect right now, because there are way better videos about that. Specifically regarding Breen and his work, it's just very surprising that for, a work that practically ignores film language in almost every other regard, it manages to maintain a semblance of the Kulishov effect. Not always successfully. I would say Breen is the filmmaker I've seen that's so close come to just completely divorcing himself from traditional shot-to-shot editing, while still trying to maintain, like, a narrative. I should clarify that, because there are some films that, whether contemporary or classic, there are films that are more abstract and don't rely on narrative beats or traditional editing. I would say that Breen is the best working narrative filmmaker right now who is just barely getting away with telling a story that's coherent to the subconscious. It's not coherent whatsoever to the conscious. But I don't know, there was something neat about it. It was like the thought that I had upon leaving the theater. And yeah, I played it up as a joke for my friends at the time, who, by the way, are not watching this video right now. It sort of makes me yearn for, like, a genre of film, if it doesn't exist. It might even exist, and I just don't know about it. But it makes me yearn for a genre of film in which, like, more of the standard theoretical conventions of film are just pushed on and tested. Maybe unintentionally in the same way, because, again, Breen isn't doing this intentionally. He's just not very good. But it's fascinating just to see, like, how far the brain can stretch to force those associations to happen, especially because so much of these contemporary audiences, like me and you, have grown up watching movies in a traditional narrative format. We're used to conventional editing. And so when we see it happening, our brains are automatically trying to create continuity, which is cool. I just want to see, like, the perfect movie that will break it, that will snap it. Breen is, like, practically there. I feel like if we continue to allow him to make stuff, we'll eventually get to the perfect film that just torches the subconscious a little bit. Meat jump scare. It's just lamb and onion. There's no other vegetables. I said no salad because I'm a creature. I know what the reaction typically is to the things like this that I say, especially from people that are not watching. I'm really messing. I know that you guys are actually willing to hear me out on stuff and think about this stuff, at least slightly more than, like, it's asking you to think about it, because Breen isn't asking you to think. It's not the point. It's not about what Breen wants. Breen doesn't matter. I'm just kidding, Neil Breen. I love you. These things are the foundations to how we understand film. And the reason why so many contemporary things are becoming less and less understandable, less coherent, less of quality, is because studios are able to cut around the basic principles, because we've all become accustomed to a certain type of visual storytelling, the kinds of stuff that cuts corners. So the more they'll continue to cut corners, the more they'll be able to get away with down the line. They're learning about our subconsciouses. They're using the theory. It'd be nice if we kind of understood some of the building blocks. All the meat and onions are gone now, because I've eaten them all with the fork, which means I just have a piece of bread with white and hot sauce in it. It's like second dinner.
I shouldn't be allowed on YouTube or in public.